Hey, Tamara Tamu here. Welcome back to another episode of Unleashed Alchemy, where on this channel, we talk about stepping into your sovereignty so that you can bring the unseen into the scene. All right. That is what we talk about here. So if that sounds good to you, you are in the right place. So I want to bring you this message real quick, okay? So I'm working off of no notes. And if you've been around here for a while, you know that that is tricky for me. But we're going to stay focused and I'm going to talk to you. First, I'm going to tell you a story, and then I'm going to talk to you about why it can be so difficult for people to step out of programming and step into their sovereign identity. So I was having a conversation with a woman about different ways that I could start doing in-person classes, in-person events, surrounded by metaphysics or rooted in metaphysics, helping people deconstruct from programming and really step into their sovereign identity. Okay. So we're going over ideas, and this was before she knew the foundation of what I do. This is before she knew about what I help people with, okay? And so when she asked me, she said, what do you do? Why do you want to have these events? Can I ask what the events would be for? And so I explained that to her. And so because of her title, I was very surprised at her reaction. Now, you may be saying, well, what is her title? Well, she is a pastor's wife. She is a pastor's wife. The pastor is pastor of a Christian church, okay? Foundational Christian church. They don't call it Christian, but that's what it is, okay? So what she said to me was, oh, wow, that is so very necessary now. What you're doing is so valuable because people are really realizing how unhelpful the church has been, how unhelpful religion has been, and people just want freedom. Those were her words to me. Now, I could have taken that as an opportunity to invite her to an event or even invite her to be a client of mine, but I didn't, because I realized that she would not have been ready for that. And even with her saying, what you're doing is so very necessary and people are really starting to look for freedom, they're really starting to understand that they don't need the church, that they don't need religion. And then she even started to talk about people in her family that are finding their way out of religion. But yet, here she is as a pastor's wife, and she has chosen to stay where she's at. Now, I bring you that illustration, I bring you that story to show you exactly why it can be difficult for people to make that transition. For some people, now I'm not saying that this is for her, but I'm using her as an example. For some people, people stay in the church, they stay attached to their religion because it brings them validation. It brings them validation through some title that they hold. Some people find the validation not only through the title that they hold within the church, but it brings them validation through the notoriety that the title and the label give them. Now listen, wanting notoriety is really about wanting to be noticed. I'm going to venture out and say that every human being, if you're watching this, if you can pinch yourself, if you have skin, you can pinch your skin and feel the pinch. There have been times in your life when you wanted to be noticed. Whether you wanted to be noticed because you wanted someone to listen to you, whether you wanted to be noticed because You just wanted people to know that you were in the room. That's really what that's about. And then there are people who want to be out in the front. They want notoriety. They are into, okay, look at me. It's all about me. Here I am. I am the life. I am the life of the party or life of the church, whatever, however you want to phrase that. So you have a situation, you have a factor of people find validation in labels, and they find validation in notoriety and wanting to be noticed. Then this validation, these labels, this notoriety becomes part of a person's identity. And I'm going to stick a side note in here. If you've been listening to me, if you've been here for a long time, then you know that when I talk about deconstructing from programming, deconstructing from religious programming, stepping into your sovereignty, whatever that looks like to you, you have to go to the core of who you are. You have to remember your identity, and that lies within your nervous system. There is an operating system that you have navigated your life from, and it goes down. It's at the cellular level. And that is where identity lies. So if you tell someone there's a higher consciousness for you that does not involve dogma and programming, then all of a sudden you're really telling that person, hey, this operating system that you have lived from, this identity that you have lived from, that is all false. That is a scary thing, a scary existence to be in, when all of these years you've lived from a certain identity. Now you see that crumbling, or it's trying to crumbling, so that the sovereign you can rise like the phoenix from the ashes. That rises, yet still you're trying to hold on to this old identity. Why is the old identity so strong? Why do we want to hold on so strong to that? Because we're either thinking, if I step away from this, if I do this differently, if I start to live differently, if I start to allow my sovereign to come through, if I start to move differently in the world, if I start to lay down all those religious traditions that I used to pick up every year, that I've been so acclimated to, now I just let those go. Then who am I? What are people going to say? So I'll go back to the preacher's wife, the woman that I was talking to. Perhaps she's saying, well, I've had this label, I've had this identity. If I drop that identity, then who am I? If I drop that identity, what are people going to say? And for me, most of my issue was, what are people going to say? Forget that I was uncomfortable. Forget that my soul was calling me for more, to more, into more. My soul was calling me out of something into something else. My soul was calling me into elevation. Forget all that. But what are people going to say? So you have labels, you have notoriety, you have identity, you have what are people going to say? All of just those four factors right there, that's rooted in fear. If the fear was not there, the fear, which religion does a fantastic job of spewing onto people, if cut that fear out, you wouldn't have any of those factors that I just mentioned. None. But I wanted to give you that story to show you why I speak the way that I speak, why my products and services are geared toward people who are breaking out of programming stepping into their sovereignty and now saying, okay, I've stepped into my sovereign identity. Now what? What is the next step? What do I do? And part of my work after you have dropped, after you said, okay, I don't care what people think. I don't care about a label. I know that this new identity, and it's not really, I keep saying a new identity, it's a sovereign identity that's always been there. You are just rediscovering it. It's been hidden through programming. It's been hidden because you're worried about what people say if you leave your church and if you leave your religion. You're too worried about a label. It's always been there, waiting for you to pick it back up. Okay. So this is why I help people in the manner that I do, because number one, it doesn't have to take you that long to deconstruct from programming. I don't care if you've been in it for 30 years. It took me, after I left the church physically, it took me another 20 plus years to completely deconstruct. That is not necessary. It is not necessary. So that is why I work with people the way that I work with people, because this does not have to be a long process at all. You can drop the label. You can step into your identity as a sovereign being. You can completely disregard what people will say about you or what people think about you, because you will be so confident in who you are as a free agent, as a free elevated soul, because you came into here free. None of us were meant to be bound by anything. None of us came into this body to be bound by dogma. None of us came here to live in a programmed way, in a prescribed way. We came here free. We have to get back to that. We have to get back to functioning in our intuition. We have to get back to functioning in our natural connection with nature. We have to get back into our goddess consciousness. We have to get back to our God consciousness. It is time. It is time for us to pick back up our spiritual gifts. It is time for that. We don't have the luxury of worrying about what people say. Now, let me add this caveat before I end this video. When it comes to you dropping the old identity, dropping the old programming, and really just choosing not to let other people's opinions send us into a spiral, because we're choosing a different way now. Our eyes are now open, and we're choosing to see with the eyes of higher consciousness and elevated consciousness, and not through the eyes of programming anymore. We can say with confidence, this is what I'm choosing to do. This is where I'm at now. This is the truth of me. And even saying all of that, the old life, so to speak, I will say that there can be a sorrow when you let that go, because you lived a certain way for so long. So there is a time to grieve that. There is a time to say, okay, I have to allow my nervous system to settle into this elevation. And part of that is grieving the old label, grieving the old identity. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to stay in it. It's just emotions that you allow yourself to process, acknowledge, and be done with. So I wanted to bring you that to, maybe this is a reminder video. I knew I needed to share that example. Perhaps this is a reminder video that, yes, you could be dropping a label. You could be dropping a title that you've lived for so long. You're dropping an identity. People are going to say, look at it like this. When it comes to you staying in something that you know is not serving you, and your reason for doing it is because of what other people are going to say, people are going to talk anyway, right? People are going to say what they want to say anyway. So you might as well be walking in your sovereignty. I would rather have someone talk about me while I'm walking in my sovereignty than talk about me while I'm stuck and swimming around in dogma, trying to find my way out. All right. So let me know what your takeaways are from this video, and go to unleashedalchemy.com to get support from me so that you can step into your sovereignty and live your soul fulfilled life with complete confidence and complete liberation. That's what it's about, liberation. All right. There's two ways that you can work with me one-on-one. I have one-time sessions, 75-minute sessions. I have a 12-session package that you can sign up for. I also have an Unleashed Alchemy Magic School, which is a monthly membership where you can hop into at any time. I also have five ebooks now that you can purchase, that you can add to your spiritual bag. Those are also wonderful instruments and tools that will help you step into your sovereignty more and more and more with increased confidence and a knowing that this is who you are, that you are goddess, that you are God, that you are universe, that you are cosmic. All right. Let me know again what your takeaways are in the comments. And until next time, be magical.